Yo guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. So, summer is very much upon us, which means that festival season has pretty much well and truly kicked off. Something that I know a lot of people my age especially struggle with is, throughout the summer we have lots and lots of festivals and events and parties and stuff planned, and trying to stay in shape all the way throughout that can be an absolute nightmare, especially when you consider you've got like weekends away from the gym, your diet's going to be all over the place, you'll be consuming an ungodly amount of alcohol and all these kind of things. Now, obviously, a lot of you guys who follow me on social media, you'll know that I absolutely love festivals. You know that I'm partial to a good old techno rave. So I have a little bit of experience with this over the past couple of years, trial and error with different things, trying to find ways of, maintaining a lean body shape all the way throughout summer while I'm still enjoying myself at festivals. So that's exactly what we're going to cover in this video today. So make sure you're listening up. But we are going to jump straight into the first point then. And the first point, as daft as it sounds, is, make sure you get into shape before the festival season starts. I know it sounds pretty stupid, but it is that simple. So what you've got to understand is, if you are still trying to get into shape, if you're still trying to lose weight, in the middle of festival season, in between all of these things, it's going to be a complete fucking nightmare, trust me. If you're going to these festivals and you're spending 3-4 days away, you're consuming fuck knows amount of alcohol and food and stuff, and you're taking time away from the gym, it's going to be just too difficult for you to manage. Especially if you're considering you're spending all your time in a calorie deficit and then you spend the weekends most likely in a huge surplus, your metabolism is going to be all over the fucking place. So, trying to consistently keep losing weight while you're still trying to, attend all of these festivals and events and going out drinking and stuff like that, it's just going to be too much of a nightmare for you. So my best piece of advice is just to make sure that you get into the shape that you want to be in prior to the festival season starting. It really is that simple. And then, of course, when you get towards the festival season, if you are happy with the shape that you are currently in, at that point, it's all about just maintaining your body weight. So, at that point, obviously, make sure you bring your training level down to something which is a little bit more sustainable. Making sure that you change your calorie intake out of a deficit and get yourself back to around maintenance level, or maybe just in a slight deficit, like a very, very small one. But ideally, you want to be maintaining that shape all the way throughout summer. And there's going to be a number of ways that you can do that. But the best piece of advice really is just maintain your current body weight. Make sure you get into the shape that you want to be in. Sit at maintenance level and try and just hold out your body weight throughout the entire summer festival period. And that way you shouldn't have to worry about anything as such in terms of damage from the festivals and whatnot like that. But that covers the first point, guys, but we'll move straight on into the second point. Alright then, guys, so the second point I want to make then is, some of the tactics that you can deploy in the run-up to a festival to help limit the amount of damage that you are going to basically suffer from, after the festival itself. Like, let's not beat around the bush here, to be honest. Like, at festivals, you're going to be consuming a shitload of alcohol. And as we all know, if you're not stupid and not living in fairyland, alcohol does come packed with a lot of calories. And your intake is going to be insanely huge throughout the entire time that you're at that festival. So there's no doubt in my mind that you will probably be in a slight surplus from that. And there might be some repercussions from that, but obviously we'll speak about that in a little bit of time. But there is something that you can do in the run-up to a festival that can help limit the amount of damage and potentially stop you from, gaining any excess weight from the actual festival antics itself. And my personal opinion is, increasing your expenditure throughout the week leading up to the festival to help limit the amount of damage that is done. So what I typically tend to do is I tend to increase my calorie expenditure on a daily basis just by increasing my steps. Something I've spoken about in my previous videos before is, when it comes to walking and stuff, it's very low impact. It doesn't take anything to recover from. And providing your calorie intake is still going to be at maintenance or pretty high, you should recover from it pretty quickly. But if you're increasing your steps by an extra 2,000 or 3,000 a day, that's going to help you burn an extra, 100, 200 calories on a daily basis. Now, if you add that up over 4 or 5 days before the festival, that's going to create, another deficit size of about 700-800 calories, something like that. And if you can apply that, you've essentially saved 700 or 800 calories, which is then going to obviously affect you while you're at the festival. That's going to help limit the amount of damage that's going to be done from the alcohol. So whatever you can do in the week or in the few days prior to the event, if you can increase your expenditure slightly, that's going to help reduce the effects or limit the amount of damage coming from the alcohol. So that would be my perfect advice for the days running up to the festival. But in the next point, we're also going to talk about what you're actually going to do while you're at the festival in terms of your food intake. Right then, so the next point we are going to talk about then is, in terms of your food intake while you're at festivals. Now, what I will say is you might want to take what I'm about to say with a pinch of salt, considering my last festival experience. I ended up going home early because of my food experience. So this might not be the best information in the world to listen to, but anyway. So when you're at a festival then, obviously, let's face it, the majority of your calorie intake is going to come from alcohol. There's no doubt about it. And typically at festivals, when we're spending too much time like raving and chatting shit to all your friends and stuff when you're absolutely pissed out your head. Like, let's face it, you're not really going to be eating that much. But this can obviously have a bit of a problem in terms of, like, especially with your muscle mass. The last thing you want to do is go to a festival and end up coming back and losing muscle. So my advice would always be, do whatever you can to try and keep on top of your protein intake. But in terms of carbs and fats, like, you might as well just throw them out the window. Let's face it, you want to have a good time. Don't be one of those cunts who like goes to festivals and stuff and like whips out my MyFitnessPal trying to track everything. It ain't gonna happen. So, but if you can try and keep on top of your protein intake or as best as you can, that will go a long way in terms of helping preserve muscle mass. So, things I've done in the past when I've gone to festivals, I've taken protein bars because I found that pretty helpful. Obviously, when you're at festivals, you'll always have like breakfast vans and like lunch and dinner vans, stuff like that. Just make sure you're picking something with high amounts of protein in. You don't necessarily have to track it. Just make sure you've got something that is high in protein, and that's going to help to like, just help preserve muscle mass. I wouldn't necessarily bother about, getting in like 6 solid meals like normal, because let's face it, like I said before, the majority of your intake is going to come from calories from alcohol. So, even if you're just getting like 2 or 3 meals, and a majority of them are like high in protein and stuff, and maybe like having a protein bar or something like that as a snack, you should be okay. What I will say, so is obviously typical like festival tactics and stuff. Just make sure you're eating like when you can or when you feel hungry, because the last thing you want to do is drink an ungodly amount of alcohol on an empty stomach and end up fucking yourself up. So that would all I will have to say on that matter. But yeah, basically for food intake then, just eat intuitively, eat when you possibly can, and just make sure you're trying to get as much protein into your diet as you can to help preserve muscle mass. Simple as that. Alright guys, so the next point I want to make then, if you really want to stay shredded while you're going to all these festivals, do me a favour and just dance your ass off. I'm not even joking, right? So what you have to understand, something I've spoken about in my content before, is one of the easiest ways that you can increase your calorie expenditure is simply by walking, or just increasing the amount of steps that you do per day. Now, whether you know it or not, when you're at these festivals, typically you're on your feet for 10 to 12 hours in a rave. You're walking around, you're on your feet all day, you're dancing, you're tapping your feet and stuff like that. Without even realising it, I bet you don't actually know that you are burning a serious amount of calories just by being on your feet and moving around all day. I can speak from my own experience, right? When I've come back from day festivals before, I've ended up doing something ridiculous like 25, 30, 35,000 steps. And my calorie burn, according to Fitbit anyway, is, upwards of 5,000-6,000 calories. So what you have to look at it like this is like, despite what your calorie intake might be from alcohol, from food and stuff like that, no doubt about it, you might be in a slight surplus. But one of the easiest things you can do, genuinely, is just enjoy yourself and just keep dancing all day. Because then your expenditure is going to go through the fucking roof, more than what it would normally be when you're at home and when you're in the gym and stuff like that. And that's just one of the easiest ways that you can help keep on top of your current condition. Despite what your intake might be from all the alcohol and the food and stuff, if you're dancing your ass off at raves every single day for 10 to 12 hours, your expenditure is going to be that high, it probably isn't going to create that much damage. So that's one of the easiest tactics I can deploy here is, just make sure you go in and just having a good time, and just make sure you actually go to a rave where the music's quite decent and it makes you want to move. Not all this stupid shit music that you get like from pop music and stuff like that, but I'm not going to go into all that, to be honest. But yeah, simple as, guys, dance your ass off. Burn a shitload of calories. Don't necessarily worry about what you're intaking too much, because believe me, the amount of raving that you're going to do is going to take care of most of it. Happy? So the final point I want to make then is, whatever you do at these festivals or throughout your festival season, is just have fun. Seriously, because that is what matters the most. Something I've spoken about on my social media content so much over the past few months is, quality of life will always, always, always be better viewed than being shredded. At the end of the day, if you've got a better quality of life, you're going to remember that for the rest of your life. That's what's going to create the amount of happiness that you desire and stuff like that. When you go to these festivals, you're going there to have a good time. You're going there with your best mates, you know, you're going there to have a laugh, get absolutely smashed, create some unbelievable memories, probably make a fool of yourself and end up being the subject of a lot of banter in the group chat. Believe me, I've been there. Not good, to be honest. But anyway, at the end of the day, you go into these things and just have fun. You've been working hard for, you know, 6, 8, 12 months, whatever like that, to get the body that you desire. There's absolutely no way in hell that you're going to do all of that work in just 2 or 3 days. Let yourself go, just have a bit of fun and try not to worry about it too much. At the end of the day, all that really matters in life is, you know, having a laugh, having a good time, and obviously experiencing an unbelievable drop just like this. Yeah, trust me, I lost my fucking head when that dropped. That was an unreal tune at Forbidden Forest. But anyway, you get my point. Just make sure you're enjoying yourself, guys, because that's all that matters at the end of the day. Try not to worry about too much, like what happens to your body and stuff like that, because there's no way in hell that you can do that much damage to it in 2 or 3 days and undo a year's worth of work. Not unless you are doing something stupidly ridiculous, like consuming like 50 pints a day and eating everything in sight. But I don't think anyone's capable of that. But anyway, guys, that brings an end to my video. Those are all my tips for staying in shape all the way throughout festival season and stuff like that. Let me know what you guys think of the video below in the comments. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video. You know the drill by now. I'll catch you guys in another video very soon. Have a good day, and I'll see you soon.